I suddenly find myself running around a dark forest late at night. There are thick tree roots emerging out of the ground in all directions, and I have to keep jumping over them and watching my footing to make sure I don't trip. Something is watching me from the tree limbs high overhead. No matter how fast I seem to go or what direction I run in, it seems to keep pace with me. Suddenly, I see a purple bolt strike at the ground next to my feet as manic laughter cackles from seemingly every direction. "Run, little Tori, run!" the voice teases. "Or I'm going to get you." I keep running as fast as I can, but it doesn't seem that I'm moving fast enough. My legs are starting to get tired, and I can feel my breath burning in my throat as I struggle to keep going. "Aw, getting tired. Maybe we should just end this, I hear something heavy drop behind me, and as I spin around, I see a gigantic shadow standing in front of me. Before I have time to think, I feel its claws rip into my stomach, and I'm left standing there, speechless, as I slowly feel my guts start to slip out of my body. I feel myself sink to my knees, and as the figure leans over me, I exhale loudly as I jolt awake, nearly smacking Hieronymous in the face as I sit bolt upright in bed. I'm aware that I'm shaking. My fingertips are twitching, and my upper arms feel like they're covered in pins and needles before I realize I'm covered head to toe in goosebumps and a damp sweat. "Tori." Hieronymous puts his hand on my forehead, and I realize my bangs are soaked with sweat as well. "Another nightmare?" I want to lie. I want to tell him no, but I can't actually say much of anything as I struggle to get my breathing under control. "Yeah, I'm okay." "Do you want to talk about it?" Hieronymous asks. "What was it about?" I want to say that I dreamed that Damien had attacked me in my sleep again, but honestly, the first thing that comes to my mind when I close my eyes and try to revisit the dream isn't Damien. Instead, I can see Hieronymus's father sitting in front of me, painfully searching through each memory he wanted to see without any regard for how violating it would be. I had to tell him. Hieronymus had a right to know, but at the same time, how was I supposed to tell him? They were my private memories, but they also involved Hieronymus. We had both been violated, and it wasn't fair to keep it from him just because I was afraid of how he was going to react. He had a right to his anger, just like I had a right to mine, and it wouldn't help either of us to keep this violation to myself just to keep the peace between us. "I don't want to tell you," I say with a steadying breath. "I know I need to tell you, but I don't want you to be mad at me." "For waking me up?" Hieronymus asks. "Believe me, Tori, there are worse things than a few hours of missed sleep." I sigh and shake my head. "I'm just scared that you're going to be mad at me, and I don't want you to pull away." Hieronymus sighs as he takes my face in both hands. "It was a dream, Tori. I am telling you, I won't pull away, okay?" I hesitate for a moment. "You promise?" The look that Hieronymus gives me is pure ice, and I immediately know that I am not off to a great start. "Okay, fair point. I had a dream that Damien attacked me again, but that's not really what's bothering me. With everything else going on, I shake my head. "We should really talk about this in the morning." "Out with it." Hieronymus looks stern. "What is this about? Is this about what happened yesterday?" I shift uncomfortably, although I realize all of my stalling is probably making this worse. Even still, I don't know how to put into words what happened. "Did he hurt you?" Hieronymus looks incensed, nostrils flaring. "It's not with me. I know it's not with me. But honestly, I'd give just about anything right now just to see him smiling and happy. But he would never reach that stage if I kept drawing this out." "Sort of," I admit slowly, and just like that, Hieronymus is back on his feet. He's pacing the room again, storming back and forth like a pendulum that might rip through the wall at any moment. "Why didn't you tell me last night?" he demands. "When I got back, why was that not the first thing you said to me?" The answer comes to me automatically. "Because I was worried about you." He stops for a moment as he rushes towards me. I flinch reflexively as I hold up my hands in front of my face, but Hieronymous just scoops me up in his arms and holds me. I bury my face in his neck as I wrap my arms around him and just savor being embraced by him. I always slept within the circle of his arm, but having him wrap his arms around me and hold me so tightly it was almost just not painful was a new kind of pleasure all on its own. "Tell me what happened," he says as he finally releases me. "You need to tell me." "I know," I say, feeling like a guilty child as I recall how Aloysius had spelled me to the chair. I explained the quid pro quo offer he had made to look at memories of a young Hieronymous, and how I felt like that would be prying, so I turned him down. I did tell him that he did search through my memories, though, helping himself to whatever it was he wanted to see. I decided not to mention how painful it was. Hieronymous already knew that looking through someone's memories was difficult, complicated magic. I didn't need to remind him. Hieronymous listens silently, but I can almost visibly see his rage meter building. As he stands to pace the room again, I can actually physically see his hands shaking. "I'm sorry," I squeak pitifully, but he doesn't seem to have heard me. He's actually not saying anything, which is even scarier in itself. When I do speak again, my voice is wet with tears I didn't realize were building with the emotion in my chest. "Please, please don't be mad at me." Hieronymous rolls around to face me suddenly. "Stupid girl, why would I be mad at you?" "Because I wasn't strong enough to fight him off," I reply immediately, my voice trembling with emotion. To his credit, Hieronymous looks like he's just been slapped. "Tori," he says, and when he speaks, his voice is soft. "You are a wild seed with only 2 years of formal education. He is much older and much more powerful than you. Even with more training, there was nothing you could have done." "I could have stalled for more time until you got there," I insist. Hieronymous just shakes his head as he runs his hand down his face, as if he's suddenly too tired to deal with any of this. Will you help me?" Hieronymous blinks as if he doesn't understand. "With spells," I reply. "Memory spells, memory blocking spells. I need to become stronger mentally. Like if someone is trying to take my memories, is there a way to create a mental shield around my mind to make sure no one can take anything I don't want them to?" Hieronymous just sighs. "Potsdam would be a much better person to teach you that kind of magic than I would be." "But I don't want Potsdam, I want you. I trust you." I hesitate for a moment. Although, honestly, I wish this would just stop happening. I wish I didn't need protection at all. "You won't," Hieronymous says sternly, although most of his anger seems to have cooled off. "He will not step within 50 feet of you ever again. I'll make sure of it." I sigh and pull the blanket tighter around myself. "I'm sorry." He shakes his head as if he doesn't understand. "It's just, I'm sorry you can't have a normal relationship with your father." Hieronymous lets out a snort of good humor. "My father has never had a normal relationship with anyone. Not with any of his wives, not with anyone he works with, and certainly not with me. He sent me away to be raised by a foster family before I could even remember his face, and aside from his wish for me to step into his legacy, he hasn't been all too concerned about me since." "Your father had many wives, but yet he's constantly after you to take up his seat," I observe. "Didn't he have any other children?" Hieronymous shakes his head. "Not to my knowledge. If he did, they were raised separately from me, but even so, like you said, I doubt he would be so adamant for me to carry on his name if he did." There's silence for a few minutes before I dare to ask the dreaded question that had been looming in my chest. "Are you going to do it? Take his seat in government, I mean." "I'm not sure," he says as he shakes his head. "The only thing I know is that if I do take my role as Viscount Ascending, it's a decision we're going to make together." "You're perfect." The words burst out of me, but Hieronymous just blushes as he shakes his head and looks away. "No, I mean it. I can't think of anyone else I would accidentally be married to." He seems to smile in spite of himself as he brushes his hair back with one hand. I know I've said this before, but you bring out the best in me, Tori. I know it hasn't been easy for you, and I know I've not been the nicest person to you, but I am trying to keep my anger in check. I am trying to be better. I shake my head. It's not about becoming better because you're not becoming someone different from who you already are. Maybe you are acting like a better person, but maybe that's only because I helped you see yourself the way I see you. Hieronymous looks stunned for a moment as he opens his mouth and shuts it again. He honestly looked lost for words before he shakes his head and seems to recover himself. I can only hope that one day I'll be able to provide as much value to your life as you seem to have given mine. I blush in spite of myself. Oh, I don't know about that. You've already saved my life once, and I'm constantly learning new things when I'm with you. I will admit that it is sometimes challenging to tell you some things because I'm never sure how you're going to react, but all I want is to see you happy. Whenever we're in bed together and we're laughing, that's one of the most important things to me because I know how hard things have been for you, but when you smile, like really smile, it's like none of that bad stuff matters anymore. And if you can get through your bad stuff and still be okay, even if it took you 10 years, then I know I'll be able to get through mine. Hieronymous smiles a knowing smile as he joins me back on the bed. It only took me 10 years because I didn't have you, he admits. I don't think I'll ever understand what you saw in me, especially when I was so unbelievably cruel to you, but now that you're here, I don't want to lose you. Think about it this way. If nothing you've done in the past scared me off, then there's nothing that you can do now that will change how I feel about you, I reply firmly. If anything, I feel like I constantly have to prove myself to you. I know I'm still a student, but I also worry that sometimes you get so mad, if I do something stupid, you'll just slam the door and walk away from me forever. I hesitate for a moment. You could always promise me that you'll never leave me. Hieronymous just shakes his head as he lies down and pulls me into his arms. I love you, Tori, but I can't make that promise. You know I can't. I know, I agree with a sigh as I settle into bed beside him. Sometimes I just really hate that we're magical beings and yet we have no power to see the future. We can't see the future because we create it ourselves, Hieronymous reminds me. And I may not be able to make a promise that I'll never leave, but I did swear an oath to you as your husband, and I do take that vow seriously. I smile as I snuggle into his chest. I know. I do too. Go back to sleep, Tori, Hieronymous says gently as he brushes the hair away from my face. Dream of me. I couldn't control my dreams any more than I could control the future, but I closed my eyes and hoped. Whether I dreamed or not, I had a feeling that Hieronymous would always be by my side, regardless.